I'll start all over again. I'm Dr. Mustafa Mubarak, a GP training, practicing in the UK. I will be moderating today's session on effective communication on effective healthy outcome, effective communication for healthy outcome. And the person that will be presenting today is Omotoso Abiola Sodiq, a 400 level mechanical engineering student of prestigious University of Ibadan. He's one of the 2021-2022 CEF Clinical Fellow. We all know about communication. Communication is very, very key to almost everything that we need to do. Yeah, I never knew the importance of communication until I came to another culture, differently. And I'm sure during the course of the presentation today, you all will agree that this is a well thought of topic. It's well chosen, and I can't even see any topic that is much appropriate, more appropriate for presentation than this in terms of starting with something and for a big foundation like ours. So I've gone through Sadiq's slides and I edited the slides myself, and he had presented to me yesterday. And I'm optimistic, like the way he did yesterday, that everybody will gain one or two things before the end of the session. So after his presentation, we will be taking question and answers. So I will employ every one of us to pen down or jot down a few things, those gray areas or those things that we want to clarify. Comments are also welcome. It does not necessarily have to be questions and answer only. If you have one or two things, or you have one or two experiences that communications has made a lot of difference, you understand, you can also share it. And after then, we'll be having our closing remark. Is that all right? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Thank you.
We are already behind schedule already. So I will be giving the floor to Sadiq to take over. Sadiq, over to you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Before I continue, can you hear me, please?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. My name is Omotoso Abiola Sodiq. I am a 400 level student from the Department of Mechanical Engineering, University of Ibadan. And I'm a fellow of the Champions Educational Foundation for the year 2021-2022. So this evening I will be presenting on the topic effective communication for LD outcome. And during the course of my presentation, I will be speaking on some of these outlines. I'll be speaking on what communication is, the types and importance of communication, the stages of communication, the barriers to effective communication, and how to remove these barriers. And I will be talking on the 7 C's, what we call 7 C's of effective communication, then result of ineffective communication. So I hope everyone, I hope you all honor me with your attention. So communication is a process of passing a piece of information or idea from a person or listener to one or more receivers. So that is successfully what communication is. But when we talk about effective communication, it is not just about delivering the message, but the effective communication only occurs when the idea that the sender conceived is properly transmitted to the receiver and well understood, just the way the sender intends. So until the information is well understood the way the sender intends, the communication is not yet effective. So that is what communication is. Then we have various types of communication. We have various types of communication. We have the verbal communication. So verbal communication can be oral or written. So when we talk about verbal communication, is a way of passing a message through words. When we use our words to pass information, so it could be oral, just as the one I'm doing, and even though it is virtual, then it could be written. So when we read books, we are getting an idea from the author of that book. So that's a form of verbal communication. Then we have the non-verbal communication. It doesn't involve the use of words like in the case of verbal. So non-verbal communication could be gestures, it could be body language, it could be eye contact, just as the picture I have here. So you can actually tell someone you are angry due to something they did without saying a word through your facial expression. So with this, you have communicated a feeling to them even without saying a word. So that is a form of non-verbal communication. Then we have the use of symbols and the likes. Then we have the visual communication. So visual communication involves the use of graphics or drawings to send a message. So a picture I have is that of a traffic light, so which many of us are familiar with. So this light is able to tell road users when to stop and when to keep moving, even without any written or other word being said. Any word being said. So without a word, we are able to pass a message just with the use of drawing graphics. That's what we call visual communication. So those are the types of communication. Then why is communication so important? So why do we discuss communication? So in our personal lives, in our day-to-day activities, to relate with our friends, our family members, and in one way or the other, we will need to pass a message across to them. So it is important to know how to do this in the correct way so that we don't cause a kind of misunderstanding. So this is one of the reasons why we need to have effective communication. Then in education, the kind of relationship that exists between a teacher and a student. So a teacher teaches past ideas, theories, and whatever it is to students. That's a form of communication. So it is important such communication is effective. So avoid passing a wrong information to students. So it is necessary that communication is effective in education. Then we have communication in our religious life. So if I'm not, don't make mistake, the two most popular religions talking about Islam and Christianity. So they have books. Those books will claim our words from our God, from our Creator. So it's a kind of communication from our Creator to us, a verbal one, written one. So that's a kind of communication from the Creator to us. So it is important that we get the message very well. It is important there is no any kind of misunderstanding. Then we have communication in our professional lives, talking about businesses, organizations. So in a research conducted in 2016 on LinkedIn in USA, so it was found that communication skills top one of the features that employers look for in the employees. Communication skills that I would talk about communication. It's important to talk about communication. Then we can't talk about effectiveness of communication without telling us the stages that communication passes through. So we have the stages of communication, and they are the source, the encoding, channel, what we call decoding, receiver, and the channel. Sorry for that. I think I right. So there are actually 7. So those are the stages of communication. So the overall success of the entire communication depends on these stages one after the other. So I will be talking on each of these stages. When we talk about the source is the sender of the information, the foundation of the communication chain. So he's the one that's conceived an idea or a piece of information that is meant to be sent. So the about success of the communication chain depends largely on the sender, because when the foundation is bad, then the whole thing is going to be faulty as well. So the sender needs to be very clear and accurate with the message to be passed, and ensure that it is going to the foundation. He makes the foundation in such a way that the subsequent stages will be successful as well. So you need to be confident and ensure he's given correct information. Then after the source, which is the sender, we'll have the encoding stage, which involves putting our message in a format that can be sent, and not only that, that can be understood by the target as well. So encoding stage is very important, because if a message is encoded wrongly, then we can be very sure that the information, a kind of misunderstanding will occur in the communication chain. So I'm going to be showing a video, a very short video now, to show how important encoding of message is in the communication chain. So I'll be showing a short video now. So I think what's actually transpired in the video. So Eddie Murphy is trying to explain a particular thing to the white man, but because he has encoded in the message without considering the white man, so perhaps the man doesn't understand the gesture he was trying to show. So even though the communication is received, the man could see what he was doing, but he could not understand what Eddie Murphy was doing, and with that, the communication is not effective due to poor encoding. So that shows us how important it is to encode our message correctly, considering our audience. Then the next stage of communication is the channel. So the channel involves the means through which we will pass our message. So message could be passed in a written form. It could be in the form of drawing, whichever means we think is good for a particular message you want to pass. So every channel have their weaknesses and their strengths. So before we can pass the message, it should be good to explore these weaknesses and strengths and see which one is going to be very okay for the type of message you want to pass. So I don't know if any of us has been in a situation where you have to travel to somewhere. Then perhaps you were told how to find your way to that place with words. But while during your journey, you forgot the way the person that told you the direction actually describe it. So that shows it is actually not so okay to use words to describe a long journey. Then having a kind of map or a journey will have been better in that kind of instance. So it's a good channel will actually help the communication to be effective. Then we have what we call the decoding. So decoding is usually done by the audience or the receiver of the message. So it involves the receiver interpreting what the sender intends. So it's very important that when encoding, the sender consider this. Will it be very easy for the so the sender must consider its choice of words and everything, so that this process is going to be successful. So then we'll have the receiver. That's the target audience, the person to which the information is sent. So they are the people to which we send message, and receivers will always come into this process of communication with their idea, maybe a previous idea they have about the topic we are discussing. Even though it might not be correct, but something we should always notice is that they will have a kind of idea before they come into the communication line. And so we must always try to consider their idea as well. So it is good that the sender considers the idea of the receiver before encoding. Now, I want to quickly ask this as regards the receiver. So I don't know if someone can just tell me what this gesture means. I need maybe one or two persons to almost themselves and tell me what this you think this gesture means. This gesture on the screen.
It could mean I get you, I understood you.
Okay. That's very good. Do we have anyone that has a contrary meaning to this gesture?
Yeah, it could also mean you're doing very well. Like somebody saying, yeah, I agree with you. Like you're doing well, you're doing great. Yeah.
Sadiq, can you please look at the waiting room? Some people are waiting for the presentation. Thank you.
What is it, sir?
Some people are waiting. Can you just admit them into the presentation? You are the host now.
Okay, sir. Let me try to do that, sir. Please excuse me for a minute. Let me try to. Yes, I'll join soon. Okay, I want to try to admit those that are trying to join.
That's okay.
I think I have admitted admitted. So thank you for the contribution. So that gesture to many of us means it's okay, as you have said. But do you know in some part of the world, like in Iran, Afghanistan, that thumbs up could actually mean something that is offensive. So when you do something like this in countries like Iran, Afghanistan, it is representing what we call the middle finger in USA. What's the the Americans call the middle finger? I think everyone knows what middle finger actually mean. So even though in our own parts, we actually think this is thumbs up, this is okay, you are doing well, but to some people, it's actually very offensive. So that is why we have to consider who the receivers are before we try to encode our message. So a person doing this to someone from Afghanistan will actually pass a wrong message. So that is one of the reasons why we must always consider our receiver. Then one of the stages also is what we call the feedback. So that has to do with the response we get from the audience. So maybe in a case you are trying to explain how to get some tasks done, then if you ask the audience to perhaps describe what you have explained or practice it. So how they are able to get your message is what we mean by the feedback. So in a case whereby the feedback is negative, maybe what the audience actually gets is not what the sender intends, then we need to start the communication all over again. So that is the last stage of, and the last stage of the communication stages is the context. And the context is just the situation the receiver is when the information is passed. So it will be difficult at times for someone that is hungry. Maybe I should use that as an example to get a message. Maybe you are trying to teach them something. So their situation at that moment should not allow them to get the message. So if the context is not so okay, then the communication will not be effective and will not be able to have the intended outcome. Then quickly, I will be talking about the barriers to effective communication. What are the hindrances to effective communication? So the first one I have here is what I call the semantic barriers. The semantic barriers. So that actually has to do with the choice of words while encoding. So to make sure this semantic barrier is dealt with, we need to ensure that we encode our messages in such a way that the receiver won't get the opposite of what we intend. So semantic barrier has to do with technical jargons, the faulty translation on the part of the receiver, the maybe unclarified assumptions. Perhaps they have made assumption that these people should know the meaning of this thing. So then I don't need to talk about it, they should know. So that's a kind of semantic barrier. So under this, I talk about our choice of words. Then I will also need us to make a kind of contribution here as well. So please, if I happen to be a British man and I tell you that I hear what you say, perhaps you tell me something, and I say I hear what you say, what do you think I actually mean? Can somebody please help with that? If I say I hear what you say, perhaps you tell me something, and I say I hear what you say, what do you think I mean?
I would think that you are confirming that you listened to me rather than saying you agreed with what I said.
Okay. That's your own opinion. Does anyone have a contrary opinion? Perhaps to I hear what you say. Okay.
Well, or perhaps you may mean that you understand the speaker.
Okay. That's
It
good.
could,
What
it could
about
also mean that I do not agree with you.
Yeah.
Or something. Then somebody is also waiting in the waiting room again. I'm sorry.
okay? Let me try to admit the person. Let me try to admit. I think I have admitted name. The contribution. I hear what you say. I think, in fact, just now we have different opinion for people now. Then what about me saying very interesting to you? You are telling me a story, and I say that's very interesting. What's could that mean as well?
You're saying nonsense.
Oh no.
So you know so very interesting is actually a kind of compliment. I think we all know that. I'm a Nigerian, so and if you should tell me very interesting, I don't know. Okay. So
So I do
that is
believe
why
that
I
it
said
would. Okay, I wanted to say that I do believe that a lot also depends on the tone as well. Sometimes when you say something is interesting, it immediately means that you agree with the idea, you like it, you think it makes sense. But if the tone changes, that oh really,
Interesting.
okay, the tone. Wow, that's
interesting.
actually
It can mean
okay.
incredible, like
okay. What about me saying I'm sure it is my fault? Perhaps something happened. I said I'm sure it is my fault. I'm sure it is my fault.
again, I would also go with how the tone sounds as well. There's a way that the
Okay.
tone will
Okay,
sound
you're trying
and
to
it
say
will
maybe sarcasm. Is that what you're trying to say?
exactly. So it can be sarcastic in a way that someone is saying, I think it's my fault. But what you will be getting as a listener is the opposite. And then there's a way that the tone can be that they are genuinely actually admitting faults.
Okay. So I'm going to be sharing a kind of picture now. So the reason I'm asking all this is even without the tone. Do you know the British? There is a picture on my screen. Do you know if the British tell you that they hear what you say? What they actually mean is they disagree and they don't want to listen to anything again. So they don't want to hear further. So I have some of them in that picture that I have on the screen. So, and somebody telling you, I'm sure it is my fault, is the person telling you it is totally your fault. In fact, totally. That's for a British, I mean. So that is why it is very important to consider the audience when you are making your choice of words while communicating, so that you don't actually pass a message that they will not be able to get or that they will misinterpret. That's actually what semantic barrier is all about. Then we have what we call the psychological barrier. So this could be a kind of lack of attention on the part of the receiver. Perhaps they are doing two things at the same time. Then if they're not able, if the receiver is not concentrating on the message, then it will be difficult for them to understand perfectly what the sender intends. Then it could be a kind of poor retention or premature evaluation. Maybe they have just concluded this is where this person is going, even before the person lands. So they will say, yeah, we will say, let me die before you bury me. Maybe they buried the person before the person died. So that's a kind of psychological barrier that affects communication. That affects communication. Then we have the personal barrier. So this could be a kind of lack of listening skill on the part of the audience, or lack of vocabulary. Maybe they do not understand the word, the kind of grammar the sender is using, or it could be that the sender also used the wrong grammar as well. So that's a kind of barrier, or lack of knowledge about the topic. A situation whereby the superiors in a particular business, they are very tough, such that it is difficult for their junior ones to say their ideas to them, maybe because of their level of seriousness in things like that. Or in a case whereby if an organization only permits written communication, and there are some things that cannot actually be passed in a written form effectively. So that's going to be a kind of barrier to effectiveness of that communication. Then how do you deal with this barriers. How do we remove some of these barriers? These are just few ways of removing them. One is we should try to avoid lengthy messages. Then you should try to put your message into content that's considering the situation before you make a choice of word, considering your audience, as I mentioned earlier. Then a good communicator should always try to employ positive body language. So you are trying to speak with people that are depressed. You want to encourage them. Then your own body language is kind of, so a good communicator will always employ a good body language. So those are the few ways of removing those barriers. Then quickly, we have what we call the 7 C's of communication. So 7 C's of effective communication, actually. So those are the features that communication should possess before we can say it is effective. So a good communication has to be clear. It should not be ambiguous. The choice of words, everything should be clear. Then it should be concise. Meaning, it should be straight to the point, so that it will not create a confusion when you are using too much words. Then it should be concrete, such that, what I mean by being concrete is that there should not be any room for misunderstanding. So the sender should try to encode the message such that there will not be any misunderstanding on the part of the receiver. Then it should be correct. So the figures of facts that are used should be correct ones. Then it should be coherent, complete, and courteous. What I mean by complete is that you should not leave any room for the receiver to be raising questions. But the information you give should actually answer the question that the receiver may have. Then one should be conscious of the kind
Hi,
of.
Sadiq.
Yes, sir.
Sorry for the interruption. Can you allow more people in, please?
Okay.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption.
Okay, sir. Oh shit, what's wrong?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
I think we still have more people hanging. Is that all? Because I
I
could
actually
see
click on admit. I
unique sending
admit
message.
all. I have
Okay, so
admitted all.
let's crack
Actually.
on. Just crack on. Yeah, if that's all, just crack on.
So those are the features of effective communication. Then if communication is not effective, what are the likely outcomes that we can have? So the result of effective communication is going to be a wasted. There will be it's going to be a wasted time on the part of both the sender and the receiver, because their aim is that the idea of the sender should be communicated, and if it is not, then the time spent on the communication process is going to be a waste. Then we have wasted emotions. So the emotion that the sender puts into the communication, and that's that the receiver also put there, is going to be a waste. Then if communication is not effective, there is going to be a kind of misunderstanding on the part of the receiver. So the receiver may get a message that is not what the sender intends, and that is going to be a kind of misunderstanding, just as in the case of the middle finger, the thumbs up that I mentioned the other time. So an ineffective communication will lead to misunderstanding. Then what are the necessary skills that one must possess for effective communication? So a good communicator should be an attentive listener as well. So a good communicator has to listen. One should have a good listening skill. You should learn how to listen to other people's idea. Then a good communicator should communicate in a relaxed manner. So there's no need for anxiety or need to rush anything. Then a good communicator should be visual as much as possible. So if certain things can be explained with drawings, with graphics, then it is going to be the best thing, rather than using too much words. Then a good communicator should try to show empathy. That's considering the receiver's situation, maybe their knowledge, their context, their situation at the moment the message is passed. Then a good communicator should know how to manage well their time. Now, in summary, what I've been discussing earlier is that communication is a very is an indispensable aspect of human life. As I have said earlier, that is this part of our personal life, our religious life, professional life, and the rest. So it is indispensable to us. Then communication would be ineffective if any of its stages is actually faulty. So we mentioned the 7 stages of communication. So any problem with one of them will actually break down the communication, and we will not be able to have required outcome. Then every human needs to possess effective communication skill. It doesn't depend on our profession, maybe an engineer, whatever you think you are, your students. So it is always good that we try to improve our communication skill. Then communication will only be effective if the idea that the sender conceived is totally understood, no more, no less, by the receiver. So then and with only effective communication, we can have the required and healthy outcome. I believe with this, I have done a little justice to the topic. Thank you all for your time. Thanks for listening to me. Once again, my name is Omotoso Abiola Sodiq. Thank you, everybody.
Brilliant, brilliant,
Thank
brilliant.
you.
I will allow people to pass comments much later. But my impression of your presentation is it was concise, it was clear, and it was powerfully delivered. And I think you've passed the message, and that's the most important thing. And like I said, I will just
Thank you so
hang
much, sir.
and allow people pass the comments much later. I'm sure we'll all have 1 or 2 questions or personal experience in which communication, has created a form of barrier between 2 individuals or between you and an organization. But before we go to that, I would like to provide a quick summary of what he has presented. Uh, he has discussed at length what communication is, and eventually he has summarized how communication could lead into healthy outcomes. He defines communication, which is very important. Uh, he has told us the types of communication which a lot of us are also aware of. It could be verbal and it could be non-verbal. Both are equally important. I used to think it's only the Yoruba people or maybe the Nigerian people that uses non-verbal communication very well until I had a chance of traveling out and I discovered that virtually all cultures, all sectors of life, almost all traditions, they also have their way of communicating non-verbally. Some cultures actually have a richer non-verbal communication skills than the other, but virtually all cultures have their own non-verbal type of communication. So it's also important that whenever you're traveling somewhere or whenever you're discussing with people, you have to pick up the local non-verbal cues. It's very important. Then he talks about the importance of communication to us. He told us how communication affects all spheres of life in terms of the religious aspects, our personal life, our professional life, our educational life. I'm sure a good number of us have attended 1 or 2 interviews before. A good number of us have maybe seek for a scholarship position before. A good number of us have applied for jobs before, and we will discover that what actually gives you the job eventually, or what makes you successful in the interview eventually, is your communication skill, not necessarily your CV. Your CV will land you the opportunity of getting interviewed, but what will eventually land you the job is how you present yourself, how you conduct yourself during the course of the interview. Again, this shows how important it is. And I do agree with the chairman, with the board at large for picking this topic. I think it's an important topic. And personally, one of the things I struggle with, especially when I had to change my environment, has to do with communication. I think he gave a lot of examples of what some people say and what to them, what it actually means, and to some of us, what we could deduce from it or what we actually thought it means. I mean, patient has told me interesting so many times. You understand that I thought I was doing the right thing until I had the opportunity of attending an induction and somebody says you have to be careful if a British man tells you interesting. You understand? Uh, Contextually or not, maybe even in terms of tones or not, sometimes a good number of times what they actually mean is you're saying nonsense. You understand? So you really
Voila.
have to understand what they mean by those things for you to be able to flow. You understand with them, especially during conversation. And one thing I noticed that put them off is once you're talking and somebody say a few jargons and you could not pick it, you understand, you will just discover that they will not continue the conversation again because there will be this feeling and that oh, this guy does not really understand English. And not necessarily that you cannot read or write, but they actually understand that you cannot flow with them at the same frequency. So that's very important. So he made mention of stages of communication, the source, the encoding, the decoding, the channel, the receiver, the feedback, and the contextual path. I wouldn't really bore us with going through all those things because I thought he had done justice and he has given example, including the one that has to do with encoding, the one that the video that he showed, the short video he showed, the Eddie Murphy type, trying to pass the message, to the white man. It was difficult for the white man to understand because it was a non-verbal stuff. So what I want to stress is barriers to effective communication, which I think is the learning point here and the result of ineffective communication. Semantic barrier is very, very important. See, one of the things that I realize is whenever you come to anywhere, you must meet with the locals. You must interact with the locals. You must deal with the locals because that is the only way you can break the barrier of communication. And a good number of times you will discover that some of these things does not even happen in a formal setting. Let's say, for instance, you're an engineer. You will discover that the majority of the day-to-day English or the day-to-day the interaction does not even happen at work. Where probably you get it if you're the type that goes out is in the pub, you understand? Or maybe in the garage, or maybe at the mechanic space or something like that. That's where you'll be able to see how people communicate, you understand, locally. And you'll be able to pick up a few things, you understand, among them. And believe me, by the time you start using those words, especially amidst locals, then they will be very, very interested in talking to you because they feel you're among them. They feel that you understand them. Just say, for instance, you are an Igbo man, then you see a white man that comes to Enugu and you decide to order Apu and Ogbono. You understand? Look at how interesting it's going to look in your eye. You will feel like this person wants to be part of us. This person is looking for a way to mix with us. You understand? Then the way you will receive the person will be better off if the person is requiring for sandwich or a toast or something like that when every other person is eating apple. That's the same thing. Whenever you go to anywhere, you have to break the barrier of communication. Those barriers that it talks about, jargons, the psychological barriers, the personal barriers, and one of those things that one of the ways you can break those barriers is mixing with the locals. Make friends with the locals, go out, go to cinemas, interact with the locals. And before you know it, indirectly, you'll be able to break a lot of barriers because this is very, very important. Then, when you are communicating, I never knew I talk so fastly until I came to the UK. Then I discovered that after talking for 5, 10 minutes, people are just looking at you and like, oh, are you done? Because you're not actually communicating. They don't even understand what you're saying at all. They cannot even deduce anything from what you said so far. So, and it can be so painful. I thought I had presented the case to them. I thought I've told them about a patient or something like that. But apparently, what they are just waiting for is, okay, just finish what you want to talk and less, because I wasn't communicating. So what I did was to now start using what he told us. I mean, the method to break barrier. I started speaking in clear times. I started speaking more slowly and concisely. Those things are very, very important. Whenever you're talking, you will never go wrong by speaking slowly. Yesterday, when he was presenting, it was a little bit fast and all that. So one of the things I told him is, see, you are presenting to your mate, we are all your colleague and all that. Whenever you're passing a message, relax, speak in simple sentences, clear sentences, and be concise. You will discover that people might have problem with your accent. Quite all right. They might say, "Oh, boy, the way this guy is talking like an Iguman, or he's talking like an Igbo man or something." But the most important thing is you will be communicating. Nobody will be able to say they don't understand what you are saying. Whichever language you find yourself, whichever tradition you find yourself, once you employ that tactics of speaking clearly, concisely, in simple sentences, clear sentences, you will discover that you will be able to pass a lot of message. And that is what I've found to be the formula that works for me. These days, when I'm presenting, I can rest assured that people are actually following me, rather than when I first joined and I say a whole lot of things for 9 minutes and people don't even understand what I'm saying. They'll be like, what the hell is this guy saying? So I think that's very important. So, and you talk about the 7 C's of communication. I wouldn't bore us with that. Then finally, the result of ineffective communication, time wastage. Whenever you pass anything and people do not really understand what you are saying, it's just time, waste of people's time, waste of opportunity, and all worth not. So this is very important. You must make sure that whenever you're given an opportunity to say something, you actually pass information, and that's why communication is important. Waste of time, waste of emotions, and of course, people will misunderstand you. Then the learning point is be an attentive listener. You understand? You can only communicate very well. It's a two-way thing. You can't be the one saying everything. People will also react to what you're saying. And in the course of reacting to what you're saying, you have to listen to what they're saying. And be honest. When I first came to the UK, for example, sorry for using my personal experience, because I did struggle. I did struggle when it comes to interacting with them. Not because you don't understand English, but because contextual meanings apply, jargons apply, how will you say things and how they hear it, accent, all those things are factors, multifactorial, all those things comes into play when you're discussing with them. So one of the things I have problem with is when they say something, I tend to forge ahead as if I understand, whereas I don't understand what they're saying. So I discovered, then I now met one of my very senior guy, which was like 3 years senior. I met him in one of the rounds, and he told me, "See, Mubarak, if you don't understand anything, just use these 2 words. Oh, sorry, say that again. Can you say that again?" They will appreciate it. Yeah, it might look as if, why can't this guy understand me? But you will be able to communicate, and when they pass information to you, they will be rest assured that you actually pick up what they say, rather than you pretending as if you hear them, whereas in the real sense you can't hear them. These people can really, really talk very fast sometimes, especially the Scottish people. I'm sure Dr. Barrister Elias will understand what I'm trying to say, and I'm and all that, because even in the UK itself, we have several accents. You hear Cockney, you hear British Queen English, you hear this and all that. You understand? So many languages, so many accents. I mean, they will be speaking English and you can't even hear what they are saying. It's the same English. You understand? So once you can't hear anything, my learning points or what the message I will pass to everyone is be honest. Always ask them to come again. Oh, say that again. Oh, I couldn't quite catch that. You understand? Those kind of phrases. It shows honesty, it shows enthusiasm, it shows that you're really interested, you understand, in communicating with them, rather than you just trying to say, okay, I understand this and all that, and you maneuver your way. Then you have to be relaxed when you're talking. You understand? If possible, employ the visual concepts. Whenever you apply 3Ds to anything you're doing, you talk, you show some pictures and all that, it actually makes it very easy. So, in summary, I think it's a nice presentation. I think it's well delivered. And kudos to the board for choosing this topic. I think it's an important topic that we can't even exhaust its importance, on this occasion. So I will be opening the floor for question and answer section, or maybe any form of idea, any form of maybe past experiences any floor member has had in the past.
Yeah,
Maybe
Elias is raising his hand.
Yeah, who is that? Elias, right? Oh, Elias. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Go ahead. Elias, you can have the floor.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Mubarak and the presenter. I did enjoy the presentation, especially because the presenter also made it interactive, pausing to ask questions, showing us some slides and images and video. That was very, very skillful to have delivered the presentation that way. My areas of contribution, not questions, will be two. One will be in personal experience, in terms of giving more examples about local peculiarities, when talking about thumbs ups and all. Then the second part will be miscommunication in professional life. How much, because we've been talking about how it can cost a lot of money and not. So I want to provide practical example to understand how much it can cost to have miscommunication. So the first one on the personal life, in Nigeria, when driving, sometimes you see people flash lights. You understand? So the person will just flash lights, and it used to mean greeting. Maybe they are greeting, the drivers used to do that a lot, and they're greeting each other. But later on, I found out that could mean something else in some other places. In Scotland, for example, if a driver flashes light to another car, that person is communicating that they are giving way. So like, I have right of way now. I'm supposed to be the one to maintain my right, and the other party was supposed to wait, in areas where you find like maybe stop or give way. So when I flash light to that person, what I'm telling them is that even though I have right of way, I am waiting and I'm allowing them to pass. Meanwhile, someone else told me that in another place, the same flashing light that means greeting people in Lagos and means giving, way, somebody that doesn't have right of way in Scotland, could mean announcing your appearance, showing the other party that I'm here. Don't stop for me. I'm here. I'm the rightful owner of the way, and you must wait. So maybe the person has doubts that maybe you may not have seen them. That's why they're flashing lights. And once you see that flashlight in those places where it means announcing that person's appearance, they want to create an awareness, and you must wait for them. Otherwise, you will cause accident if you interpret it to mean they've given you road. So you just drive into them. So that's one that a personal example that I can find in explaining more that certain things, especially non-verbal communications, could mean different things in different geographical locations. So the ability to now understand the local peculiarities of where one is communicating is very important to avoid miscommunication. Now, going to professional life, something happened to Citibank in the US last year, 2021, I think around May 2021. I'm going to share a link so that whoever is interested can also read more about it. If this thing had happened to a bank in Nigeria or India or South America or whatever, maybe a developing country or a country that is considered to be third world country, people would have said, oh, yeah, what was their banking system about? But this happened to Citibank, the renowned Citibank in the US. They mistakenly, by way of miscommunication, sent $900 million out into a wrong account where they wanted to send $8 million. They sent 900 million, just 100 million short of $1 billion. The story was this: Citibank had a customer called Revlon. Revlon holds several people money, and those funds, those debts were not due until 2023. But certain interests were due on the payment. Those interests accumulated to $8 million. Citibank has a software through which they communicate approvals of mandates when they initiate transactions internally. Those softwares included where the bank officers were supposed to check, when you are checking box, small box where you say, I agree, disagree, those kind of things that we usually check. What the software developer had communicated to them was that this software was to make their life easy. Instead of them initiating transactions bit by bit, what they would do is to move the entire funds in an account just once. But when checking the box, there's a stage where they will now check the box to say, I want 8 million to go to the lender. I want the remaining 800, and if we remove, I don't know maths, that's my problem. If we remove 8 million from 900 million, for example, now, we're supposed to then have maybe 892 million. So if they tick the box properly, they will be communicating to the computer to wire $892 million into a dummy account that will still be sitting within the bank's internal system, while the computer will then move $8 million to the various lenders, right? They had designed this software to make life easy so that if you needed to pay like 20 lenders now, you will not need to initiate 20 different transactions, paying this one 500,000, this one 200,000, this one 1 million, this one 2 million to now make that 8 million. So in order to make life easy, they designed that software, and the developer communicated to them how to use it, that they needed to check box, and some of those boxes were repeated. So you have to check it and still check it another time, like 3 times. In this case, the banking officers actually checked the boxes first time, but they did not check it properly second or third time. And boom, the system moved the entire 900 million out of the bank into the various lenders. It was 24 hours later that Citibank discovered that they had made, the biggest mistake in the banking, global banking sector. They now started to reach out to all the lenders that you might have received $100 million where you were expecting 500,000 or 200,000. Please return the money. Some of the Good Samaritan lenders returned the money, so they were able to recover like 400 million, but they couldn't recover 500 million because those other lenders said they have treated the money as full discharge of their entire principal and interest. So they then sued those lenders to the US court. The US court applied the American law that says when you are owing a lender, whether the debt is due or not, if you decide to pay by mistake and that lender did not induce the payment, they are entitled to retain the money, So I will share the link and then you will see. I just thought that maybe I could share that to buttress your point about miscommunication leading to, costing a lot of money, costing, in some cases, lives. It could cost life in the case of the accident that I described, where a driver is communicating and then the other driver is interpreting it to mean something else. So it could cost life, it could cost a lot of money, it could cost some people their career. Imagine what will happen to those bankers. It's already costing them their career if care is not taken and all. So overall, thank you very much for the presentation once again. I do think that it had made me to enjoy my evening very well.
Yeah,
Thank you, Barrister.
Brian, your background is
Daniel.
Yeah, sorry, can we mute ourselves? Can we all mute ourselves, please? Okay, good. Yeah, it's better now. Elias again, Barrister, what a wonderful contribution. Thanks so much. I mean, you've highlighted how important communication is and how it could, miscommunication could result into something really, really costly. I mean, I'm just wondering, almost $1 billion. That's so much. You understand? So it's okay. Is you can't just, exhaust the importance of communication in this presentation. I mean, on just a go, on one go. It's so important. I mean, we just have to keep stressing it and all that, And maybe much later we might have another topic that will still go in that line, not necessarily on communication. But my belief is that we cannot exhaust, the importance of communication on one go. So I will allow one of the our fellow. Okay, we actually have two fellows raising up their hands. I think quickly. Saeed Olariwaju, is that correct?
Yes, Dr.
Saeed
Barak,
Olariwaju.
that's correct.
Yeah, so you
Yeah,
can have
you
the
hear me?
floor. So yeah, you can have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. I really appreciate it. And yes, I'm very grateful for the presentation too. Sadiq did a very good job. He did an excellent job, and I learned a lot today. Thanks a lot, Sadiq. I look forward to more presentations like this coming from you.
You're welcome, sir.
So, but yeah, just I don't know, like I wanted to start with the aspect of non-verbal communications. Yes, like I understand how important it is to be effective communication, but I realize like, or should I say, at least for me personally, I have some sort of challenges with verbal communications, right? And non-verbally, I noticed like you didn't mention written communication. So, and I'm actually more, should I say, I'm better with that, like writing things for people to assimilate or for people to interpret. I find it like much more easier than speaking to people. So I just want to know, like, all of these principles that you have outlined, do they still apply to written communications? Like, or would you say we have to, like, by force, develop our verbal communication skills? So that is one. Yeah, the second question I'll try to just a clarification. In this um societies that you say, like for instance, now where thumbs up means something else, or particularly in the UK, where if someone says I'm at fault, they are totally blaming you for something. Then does the reverse statement, does it mean like the actual word? Say for instance, now if I mean you're at fault when I say I'm at fault, then if I say something like you're at fault actually, then does that mean I'm trying to say that I am the one at fault? How do you communicate? Like what if I'm trying to say the exact opposite? Or what if like I want to pass the message, what if I said the exact opposite of that statement? Like does that principle still apply? Does it have to be like the person will have to interpret it? Like, I don't know if you got what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
the
yeah.
person have to, okay, that's what I just want to know. Thanks. So just those two questions. Yeah.
Sadiq, would you mind if you
Okay.
provide something on it? Then I'll help you out. Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm going to answer the first question. Why I'm not in the UK, so
Yeah,
you
I
have
can help you with the second one. I quite understand what you're saying with the second one. Yeah. Okay. Forge ahead. Yeah.
it's actually verbal communication actually involves use of words. So I said in the presentation that the use of words could be in form of written or oral. So writing also is in form of verbal communication. So all those things that I said, there could be a semantic barrier in written communication as well. So written communication is a form of verbal communication too. So I think I have answered the question. So
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all those
yeah.
things are
Thank you.
actually applicable to written.
So yeah, yes, like yes, rightly said, when he was talking about types of communication, the first thing he made mention of was verbal, which he further subdivided into oral, you understand, or written, you understand. So written is also a form of verbal communication, which a good number of us are actually very strong with. Like I just recently got a comment from one of my supervisors, and he said, "You write so well," you understand. And I know that he's softly telling me that if you could speak so well, like you're writing so well, that would be really nice. I understand what you couldn't just get to that level because Igbo people can be very courteous in their way of things and all that, and they don't believe that. They have the belief that perhaps we don't speak as much as or as good as they do, you understand, but they know that when it comes to writing, we're actually better writers and all that. I mean, we all know about Chimamanda Adichie and the likes, you understand. They've won so many awards, they've written so many books and all that. Yeah, and we do have a good number of people, and it's not like we don't speak good English. We actually speak better than them, in my opinion, because when you discuss with an Igbo person, you discover that they don't even understand much of this thing that they call English. You understand? They just know how to tweak words, and they've got good accent, which you can't take away from them because that is their language. You understand what I mean? Going to the second one that you're saying, it boils down into understanding the locals. Like I said, see, once you mix with the locals, you understand the contextual meaning of everything. You wouldn't even need to say, okay, what if I say it the other way around, like you were trying to say, which I quite understand? Would this still mean the same thing? Everything will just flow naturally because you are in the middle of the whole thing. It's just like, I don't know, you are a Yoruba man, I presume. You understand that? There are some idioms that we have in the Yoruba language that whenever somebody says it, nobody even asks for the meaning or anything. We just understand it naturally. We just flow with it. And that's the importance of understanding the locals and mixing up with the locals. You understand? The moment they say interesting or they say something else, you will not even think otherwise because you already understand that this is the only thing that he means in this language. I don't know whether you understand what I'm trying to say, Saeed. You understand? Because it can only mean one thing. Because the way they use
I
it, they use
understand,
it
sir. Yes.
in particular scenarios. You understand? And those scenarios, it could only mean one thing. Like what's the non-verbal type that Barrister Elias has highlighted the other time. He was mentioning different regions with the flashing of lights. You understand? Actually means in those regions. So if, for example, if flashing of lights means greetings in a particular region, believe me, all the people in that region will not attribute that flashing of light to any other thing than greetings, because they were brought up that way. That's the only way they understand it, and they will not give it another meaning. But you know that it could mean something else because you are coming from a different background. You understand what I mean, Saeed? You are coming from a different background in which flashing of light
Yeah, I'm
actually
following
means
you, sir.
something. You understand? So the importance is you have to mix with the locals. You have to understand what the locals do and all that. And once you understand what they do and what they mean by each of those words, once they say it, you will be able to deduce what they mean naturally without even, attributing it to something different. You understand? So I hope that answers your question. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir, Dr. Bar.
So then,
Yeah.
yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome, Saeed. So Daniel, I think he's the last person raising his hands. He's also a clinical fellow. Daniel, can you introduce yourself and
Okay.
make your own contributions? Yeah.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah.
I really appreciate tonight's topic on effective communication. So my question is, what role does emotional intelligence plays in effective communication? So what role does emotional intelligence plays in effective communication, regardless of the culture in which you are? Thank you.
You give that a go. I think that's a very broad topic. I might still invite a few people to also contribute or to also answer that question. Yeah, it's because emotional intelligence is another topic on its own. If we know the components of emotional intelligence and all that. So now what Daniel is trying to do is to link emotional intelligence to effective communication. Sodiq, do you have anything to say regarding that?
I actually don't. I don't have much to say. I don't want to do a kind of information I don't know much about. So I want to say that.
No, I think the reception is very, very poor. I can barely hear what you just said now.
Oh, network. Can you hear me now, sir?
Yeah, it's slowed,
Can you
but
hear
at
me now?
least it's better. Yeah, your speech is a bit slowed, but I think it's audible enough. Yeah, speak on.
I think it is the network. So I said I just actually want to give a kind of information as regards this question. So I don't know if you can help me out with that. I just
Yeah,
yeah.
so I can give. Yeah, just to save our time and all that. Yeah, I will also allow somebody because emotional intelligence is also a big topic that I'm a fan of because I do understand that virtually everything that you do in life you just have to be emotionally intelligent because we have different type of intelligence and part of it is also emotional intelligence and you can't just do away with being emotionally intelligent in almost all aspects of life, be it communication, be it it's cut across almost everything. Yeah. So I think what I get from what Daniel is saying is what role does emotional intelligence plays when it comes to effective communication. Yeah, I would see it from the aspect of non-verbal cues, understanding how the people you're dealing with are, and trying to see things from their own perspective. You understand, especially when you're providing answers and all that. So again, I'm sorry for giving this example because something you can only give example of what you know or what you're dealing with. Whenever I am in the hospital and I'm dealing with especially the our white counterpart, their nurses and all that, I noticed that, let's say you're doing something now, you're busy with something, let's say you're typing a letter or something like that, and one of the nurses just come across to you and is passing an information. I'm very, very poor with doing two things at a time. Once I'm typing, whatever you're saying, I'm not listening to it. That's the truth. And funny enough, I'm very good with nodding my head. So I'll keep nodding my head, keep nodding my head. So you keep talking, keep talking, keep talking. When it now comes to asking question and expecting me to answer, I will not say, oh, sorry, say that again. Then almost every time, everybody that I do that to, they get pissed off. You could see it in them. They'll feel like, why are you nodding? You understand? When you're actually not listening, or you don't even understand what I'm trying to see, what I'm saying. You understand? So that's an example of being emotionally intelligent. Now, I discovered that the way they get annoyed with such a thing is different from the way we get annoyed with such a thing. They really, really be pissed. You could see it in their eye. So when you're dealing with them in terms of communication and all that, you have to understand the people you're dealing with. You have to understand how they get mad and how they react to things. So whenever I'm doing anything now, or whenever I'm being engaged, is either I tell somebody to hold on and let me finish what I want to do, or I pause what I'm doing and listen to what they want to say. You understand? That means I'm trying to be emotionally intelligent, because I know that if I do otherwise, or I do the way I do normally do things, I can get on the wrong side of them. You understand what I mean? So it still boils down on the non-verbal part and understanding people you are dealing with. The way we react to things are actually different, completely different. Mr. A can react to things like this, while Mr. B will not get along with that thing. So emotional intelligence now comes to knowing how to strike a balance and how to react with people, with in different ways, understanding what they want and how they want things to be done, especially when you're communicating with them. Some people will say, okay, whenever you want to discuss things with me, I want it concise and precise. Just go to the point. Some will tell you that whenever you're communicating, I want you to go to town, expatiate, and tell me a lot about what you are saying. So when you are communicating now, emotional intelligence now comes to trying to understand, okay, Mr. A, this is what he wants, and I'll give him what he wants. Mr. B, this is what he wants, and I'll also give him what he wants. So, like I said, emotional intelligence is also a very, very big topic on its own. I'm just trying and make it short by giving illustration and make it easy for us to understand that what it takes is you putting into context people you are dealing with, understanding their preferences, and applying their preferences whenever you are communicating with them. Daniel, do you understand what I'm trying to say now?
Yes, thank you so much.
So, yeah, so that's the context of applying emotional intelligence, to effective communication. Yeah. Do you have any concern regarding the explanation, or do you have any gray area that you think we need to discuss? Maybe someone else could also, try, because I can see that the chairman is also raising his hand, so he can just start by answering your question, and you'll be able to make his own contribution, and we'll be able to round off the night because we have only 6 minutes left. Daniel, anything? Are you happy with the explanation so far?
Yes, I understood your explanation. It's very insightful.
Okay, yeah, brilliant. So, Ahmed, Honorable Chairman,
Yeah,
you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mbarak and Omotoso Abiola Sodiq. You did a great job, honestly. Given the fact that you are the first person to present, a lot depends on you, and you've set the momentum quite right. I think you've raised the bar, and then others need to try to meet up to that. So kudos to you. I really do appreciate your effort and presentation, and also it's evident that
Our
Dr.
effort,
did a very good job.
Efforts.
Calm down. It is evident that Dr. Mbarak did a very good job in trying to in trying to make this a success. So I could see for you to have presented yesterday to him, for him to have made some corrections. And I can see from the flow, so he's totally into the slide, so he understands every bit of it. So that's kind of work we want from our mentors. So again, he has also set a standard for other mentors and moderators to be coming behind. So good job, great team. Thank you very much, both of you. So I will just say something about your presentation. It's a good job. Before I go forward, I would say what informed this topic. And it is the evidence lack of proper effective communication in our community. You understand? In almost everything that we do, our daily activities, in our family settings, between our spouses, in the government settings, and and if we can solve this problem of communication, it goes a long way into solving a lot of things. Take ASU and federal government, for instance. You understand? This is about communication and trying to come to the table and meeting other people's needs. And again, you talk about, somebody mentioned emotional intelligence. Look at the Minister of Education when some students' body went to him, and then they were having a meeting, and then he walked out on them. That is complete lack of emotional intelligence. You understand? So it just goes a long way. Between husband and wife, you have reached. You need to sit down and communicate and talk things out. You understand? So, and for you to be a good communicator, truly, you have to be a good listener, like you have rightly pointed out. Okay, so that is very, very important, because if you don't listen to others, you don't understand their point of view, you don't understand their angle from which they're coming from, there is no way you'll be able to address that, and you'll be able to give your own perspective. So things don't go one way. Communication is two ways. Okay, so and that is very important. What I need to point out is that Slick, this kind of presentation, you've used some definitions, you've taken some terms from some places, you need to reference it to people. This is an educational presentation. The 7 C's of communication, for instance, is popularly credited to Stephen Harvey, for example. So if you cannot mention it there, then you should have a slide for references, and that will reflect where you have gotten your information from. Okay, so and then that would take away the plagiarism and other problem with communication from other problem with presentation. So, but I believe that you've done a good job presenting this, and I hope you also learn in the process of making this presentation, because that's the aim, is to make sure that we prepare you guys, the fellows, for bigger challenges. So, because going forward, you cannot run away from this kind of presentations. Okay, so I hope you also, apart from impacting on us, and everybody is grateful for you, I hope you also get something and learn in the process. Thank you very much. Next month we will announce the dates and topics and the presenter in the next, this week, and then so that we can know who is presenting next, and we can start preparing for that. I cannot finish this without thanking the content creation team, led by Oyinlola Abosede. They did a very good job, and then they kept on reminding us in the group the presentation coming forward, and they designed the flyer for us. We didn't have to spend a dime, and that is very commendable. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much, and keep up the good work. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Mbarak.
Yeah, so thanks everyone for the comments passed so far. Sodiq really wowed me yesterday when he presented. I mean, when he sent his slides, I was happy with the clarity of the slides and all that. So all we needed to do is just to add a few more things to it, and that was it. Yeah. So I give it to him, to be honest. Yeah. So and I think going forward, one of those things that we want us to learn is how to speak calmly, how to be precise, how to be clear, how to employ the use of audio visuals in passing on information. I was a bit bored yesterday when he was presenting, and Sodiq will be my witness. So I had to tell him that we have to change our style today so that we'll not bore people. That his presentation is not teaching. He did lecture me on communication yesterday, and I don't want him to come here and lecture you guys today. So I had to tell him, guy, his presentation, not lecturing. So I don't want it to be lecturing and all that. We have to come with the style of using some audio visuals, asking questions in between the presentation and all that, because those are the things that is going to capture people's attention and make sure that people follow you till the end. So I'm saying this so that in case other presenters do not really pick why his presentation is good, you understand? I need to stress it and highlight it. That's the reason why I'm saying it again. Whenever you're presenting, I learned the hard when I came here that presentation is not the same thing as teaching. That what we were doing in medical school in Nigeria was actually teaching, not presentation. When you have slide like this, everything is full of words, so wordy and all that. You couldn't even finish reading it yourself. You understand? So we had to cut it down and say, okay, it's presentation, not teaching. So employing the tactics of audio visuals, playing a short video of 30 seconds, 1 minute in the midst of your presentation makes it really, really good. And asking people questions, or asking for their opinion in the middle of the presentation takes them back. For those that are distracted, takes them back to your presentation, and before you know it, you will be done. And most importantly, always present within the time frame, 30 minutes and more. I think our presentation was about 45 minutes or 1 hour yesterday. I had to tell him, no, we can't come here and present 45 minutes and 1 hour. Just make it like 30 minutes. So that was a very good one. It shows that you're a very, very good student. I mean, I'm so proud to be your mentor, and I know that we're going to achieve a greater things together in the next couple of months or year. And I hope the relationship continues, till eternity. Let me use that word if it's allowed. You understand? So everyone here if you need anything, you can always get across to us. You can always get across to the chairman. You can always get across to any of the board members. We are here to help you. We are here to guide you. We are here to make sure that those challenges that we faced, we are facing now, you guys don't have any. I mean, if I could present like this while in Nigeria, I wouldn't have much problem. Why we have to come here? Because we have to do a lot of learning and unlearning when we came here before you can see us talking like this. And if Sodiq could now be like this at this time, I can only imagine what he would be, when he starts attending interviews and all that. I mean, my first feedback in my first ever interview, I think I met him knew about it. Saying the UK was horrible. They didn't even understand what I was saying. Obviously I didn't get the job. You understand? So it's very important. You understand how to communicate, because your stuff will only get you an interview, but what will get you to the job is your communication skills. You understand? Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for all the people that work behind the scene to make sure that today is successful. I thank Abiola Omotoso for his presentation. I thank our powerful contributors, Elias Kazim, Daniel, and Olari Waichu. I thank all the people that that have deemed it fit to grace this occasion. Ifemi, I can see you. Our very own, let me use that word, Taiba Sarafadin. I mean, she's been here all through. I think I met her, in the room already. She came even earlier than me. So let alone Sodiq. That shows so much commitment. So we are really, really grateful, for finding it worthy, to attend this presentation. So we can only hope this is just the beginning of of many more things. So I will be drawing down the curtain from here. If we don't have any question, I think we can call it a day.